Remain seated, please. Permanecer sentados, por favor.
To all who come to this happy place, welcome.
Our largest single-theme land expansion ever.
Now we want you to share with us our latest and greatest dream.
Matterhorn Matt presents Matterhorn Mondays.
Welcome, everybody, once again to episode 153 of Matterhorn Mondays. I am, of course, your host, Matterhorn Matt.
And I am Jeremy.
And today, we have a great episode planned for you all today. Lots of great topics that we're excited to get into. Lots of breaking news. Not compared to last week. Well, last week we had the big Buena Vista Street story that we had to cover. But, lots of more news that we're excited to get into this week.
That's right.
Yeah. Jeremy, anything you'd like to say to the audience before we get started here?
No, I think, it's pretty juicy news. It's going to be pretty redundant, though. So I actually think it's going to go by pretty fast because we've been talking in circles I feel like for 7 months.
Yeah.
So,
it's today's the first day of November, and we say this the first of every month that we've been doing this the past however many months it's been.
I know.
It feels like just yesterday I moved in here to my office, moved into the range, my whole setup here, and now look at us now.
Right.
Whole 8 months.
Look at us now.
Months later. It's been crazy.
But hey, if you stick around to the end of the show, our final segment here is going to be something a little special. I'm going to be providing a book review for the new book about the Haunted Mansion, Boundless Realm, Deep Explorations Inside Disney's Haunted Mansion. I will do that review at the end, so I'm not going to talk about it now. But I feel, in the spirit of Halloween being a couple days ago, I felt it was appropriate, and it just came out earlier this month, so I felt it was appropriate to mix things up. We not just have everything be about Disney news. Let's have some fun.
Yes, that's
not that. I mean, it might bore you.
Oh yeah,
it's just gonna be me talking for about 2 minutes, so it might actually be bad, but we'll see. Stick around and find out for yourself.
Stay to the end. Don't click off the ad breaks either, you guys. Wink, wink. Just kidding. But anyways, before we get into this week's news from the peak, I failed you the past 4 shows in a row, you guys, and I have to extend my greatest and most sincere apologies to all of you for not doing any Matt snaps. I mean, technically we did the segment. We didn't have the sound clip, the sound bite, because my soundboard was broken, but I fixed it. And I also have a Snapple today, so I'm excited to finally get back into the groove of that. So let's get right into this week's Matt Snaps.
A whole wide world of knowledge waits underneath the cap. It's once again time this week for Matterhorn Matt Snaps.
Well, today, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, we have this pristine, unopened bottle of Snapple here. And this is, of course, the plastic bottle. I'm sure you're all used to it by now. And we have the classic peach tea. It doesn't want to focus for some reason, but that's okay.
My favorite.
Yeah, peach tea is by far the best Snapple flavor. If you ask anybody, they'll probably say something else, but they're wrong. Peach tea is the best Snapple flavor. And I have, of course, my trusty Galaxy's Edge cup here to go along to drink this bad boy in. So let's go ahead and let's see if we can get a good pop here. Yes.
Let's hear the pop first.
Okay, we'll go ahead and pop this open here. Let's see if we can get a good one. Not bad. Not bad. It's not as good as the glass ones. The glass ones give off better pops, but there's the setup for today. Jeremy, what did you want to say?
We'll go ahead and pour this, Matt. As Matt pours this Oga's Cantina cup is on sale for just $1,000. You can buy this cup with Matt's saliva on the straw. Yeah. The straw will be included. More information about that in the description below.
That is so true. Jeremy has never spoken truer words on the show.
Can you imagine?
If someone buys it, I'm not complaining, but, yeah. cue the Star Wars theme. Says Willemema. I'm sorry, I just butchered your name. Yeah. Well, anyways, we have like I said, Snapple, and I'm happy to have the I'm happy to have the sound effects back. Like I said, the soundboard has been broken for the past few episodes, but it's that time of the episode, you guys. It's time to get into this week's news from the Peak.
We now present to you news from the Peak.
Let's go. This week's news from the Peak. Jeremy, what is our first bit here of news from the Peak?
Yeah, that's right. So our first bit of news from the Peak here is Disney has released a video displaying new advancements in their oh God, I just tried this word out before the show and now I froze. What is it? Autonomatronics.
There it is.
Autonomatronics. What a wonderful phrase. Okay. Autonomatronics. Now, this is the next evolution in Disney's audio animatronics, and it's actually not considered an audio animatronic because an audio animatronic has a show pre-programmed in it. And what makes this special is that the autonomatronic is going to respond actively to its environment, whether that's guest interaction. The most cool thing about it, if you watch the video, are the eye movements are so realistic. I can't wait to see if they get a really great sculptor there at Blaine Gibson level at WDI. These autonomatronics are going to be absolutely revolutionary and incredible looking, as well as they are incredible technology. So that's really, really exciting. Who knows when we'll see this implemented?
Yeah.
But it's a pretty exciting advancement.
Yeah, sadly can't show the video because I don't want this to get copyright struck by, Mickey Mouse himself. And it is kind of creepy, of course, with no skin on it, just the eyes and the teeth that you can see. But yeah, either way, it's kind of fun to predict where we'll first see this end up, like we saw with the Stuntronics a few years ago. We saw that those ended up being in Marvel Land. So, leave your predictions down below as to where we'll see the first iteration of this new I'm not even going to try. Autonomatronics. There it is. I don't know.
Autonomotronics? I like that.
Autonomotronics. There it is.
Actually, it's autonomatronics. All right. Cut. We're starting the show over.
Well, time for our second bit of news from the Peak here today. This is, this could be taken as some good news for you Epcot fans out there after the temporary pause in work at Spaceship Earth, like we reported on a few episodes ago. New permits for the quote-unquote installation of source power and control equipment, unquote, have been filed for work on the attraction. So, yeah, this could mean really anything, but speculation putting that to the forefront. Guys, the Spaceship Earth refurb is back on. Just kidding. But I mean, it does bode
it's possible. No, that's what it alludes to. Who knows?
Some good news for all you Spaceship Earth and Epcot fans. Probably or hopefully this attraction won't be down for much longer. Hopefully they'll get the work started as soon as they can. This might be a hint towards that. We'll see. But what do we have here for our third and final bit of news from the Peak?
Our third and final bit of news from the Peak: Hong Kong Disneyland's reimagined castle, deemed the Castle of Magical Dreams, will be opening officially on November 21st. That's just around the corner. The Castle of Magical Dreams, interesting title, is inspired by 13 stories, that's good luck, of beloved Disney princesses and queens. I'm reading the PR release for this, offers something special for every guest, with its many towers and spires embracing iconic patterns, textures, colors, and ornamentation unique to each story. I'd like for them to point out the unique features of each story on that castle.
Yeah. So, it's not completely... It's weird to look at because you can obviously see the mold that they've sort of sculpted around the original Sleeping Beauty castle. like the new parts are just so obvious for me. It's just kind of hard to, in my head, make it like it's a brand new castle and not the old one. I don't know. It's interesting, Hong Kong, they did something bold with their parks, and more praise to them for completely redoing their castle, which is not anything that I don't think have seen in any other castle parks up until this point. So it's very interesting, good for them, and hopefully one day we'll be able to see it in person. Hopefully it looks better in person. I'll tell you that much. But that does it.
I agree.
Yeah, very interesting. But that does it for this week's news from the Peak. And we do have some great topics that we're excited to get into today. A little rundown here. First topic, massive entertainment layoffs around the parks. And second topic, overseas parks cope with COVID spikes. And then finally, like Jeremy mentioned, the book review of The Boundless Realm, Deep Explorations Inside Disney's Haunted Mansion. Very excited to hear Jeremy's review. It's been a while since I've read a book, so this will be
this one, Matt, I guarantee you should read. So hopefully I sell it to you tonight.
I'll buy your copy.
No.
Well, anyways, I think, Jeremy, what do we have here for our first main topic of the day?
Okay, our first main topic of the day. I'm always caught off guard here. Our first main topic of the day, pretty devastating way to start off here.
Yeah.
So the Disney Parks arrives at its promised 28,000 layoffs with devastating blow to live entertainment in the parks. Many further layoffs occurred this past week. Over 18,000 Walt Disney World cast members have lost their jobs, as have 10,000 Disneyland cast members. This reaches the 28,000 number Disney previously announced. This week, entertainment faced a particularly major hit, with many shows losing their cast. Here is a list of some of those impacted shows. The Citizens of Main Street, Magic Kingdom, great walk-around characters there. Yeah. Monsters, Inc., Laugh Floor at Magic Kingdom, love it or hate it. Those were very, very talented improvisers who worked on that show. Very sad to see that go. Citizens of Hollywood at Disney Hollywood Studios. Those were always great. The Hoop-de-Doo musical review at Fort Wilderness Resort and Campgrounds. That is very devastating. That has been around since 1974. It's one of the longest running dinner shows in the United States. Of course, the Festival of the Lion King, which is very devastating. I know that's a huge fan favorite. And there's a full list that will be in the description of the video as well. All of these talented performers have lost their jobs, with doubts that their shows will ever return. Actors Equity Association, the union that represents actors and performers on Disney property, states that 720 of their 780 union members employed at Disney have lost their jobs. I don't know what to say. That's devastating. And as always, we're going to have links to donate to cast members that'll be in the description. I don't know what there is to say. I'll pass it over to you, man, and ask you some questions. But it is true. We have seen entertainment cuts pre-COVID. So, of course, this was going to be the department that was absolutely gutted. And that's just devastating. In my opinion, live entertainment, say what you want about the quality of it over the history of the parks, but it's very vital to what makes the parks alive.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you feel about this, Matt. I'm sure very similarly.
Yeah, we've been talking about layoffs almost weekly, it seems like, for the past couple months or so, and it's very, like you said, it's very sad, it's very devastating for the company, and it is very interesting because, like Jeremy mentioned, these live entertainments, the walk-around characters, all that kind of stuff, are really, like he mentioned, the heart of, like Disneyland. Like, you walk around, you see the walk-around performers, you see these shows, and it's very sad to see that go. And it's very interesting as well. It seems like the past, however many years they've been doing these cuts, it seems like the live entertainment has always been like the number one, one of the first things to go when, we hear of these big cuts coming out. I think just a few months ago we saw the show inside the Golden Horseshoe ended, and then they replaced that with I think a couple smaller shows in Frontierland. But yeah, it's just horrible. And I saw some tweets as well I think it was either the day of or the day after of Tomorrowland and the Magic Kingdom, where Monsters Inc. used to be because the show is most likely never coming back. And
it's probably gone.
Yeah, and Disney like literally just boarded up like the sign and everything, the queue. It's like it was never there. Like just a day, however many hours it was since the cast members were informed of the layoffs. Disney just goes into the parks and then just poof, it's gone. It's like the laugh floor never existed.
It's strange, too, because in any other circumstance, I think we would be celebrating the laugh floor closing to some extent.
Mm-hmm.
But because it's under these circumstances, it's like really kind of brutal and sad. Because in any other circumstance, we would hope that it would be replaced with something that really fits into Tomorrowland and that would work really well in that space.
Yeah.
But this is different circumstances because there might not be anything that ever goes in that space for a very long time. On top of those performers just not even being, transferred to another show, which might have happened if the ride closed under any other circumstances. So it feels very icky.
It does feel very icky. I almost spilled Snapple everywhere while you were talking, Jeremy. But
all right, we can't lose the value of that cup, Matt. So
yes. You guys, it's pristine. There's no
it.
chips on it. It's clean. It's perfect condition. But and it is, it's hard because you mentioned that this is probably the last time these shows are ever going to be, they're not coming back at all. Like you said, Monsters Inc.
It's not certain.
Well, it's not certain, but things like the laugh floor you can almost guarantee is not coming back because they've already been sort of doing that transition from the old Tomorrowland into new kind of Tomorrowland, and I'd assume that they'd want that attraction to go either way. But, being able to save the jobs of the actors, like you said, maybe transferring them to another show would be, miles better than just 100%, just firing them, letting them go. And, it is just very horrible because, like I mentioned, we have been talking about these layoffs for the past 2 months or so, and even in the tweet that Disney put out just a few weeks ago, they alluded to the fact that more layoffs were coming. Lo and behold, the next week and now this week, more layoffs have been occurring. So it's yet to see if even more cast members will be laid off. Hopefully not, because they are. I don't know.
Here's the thing, Matt.
Yeah.
The thing is that this is a part of that initial 28,000, right?
Sure.
So they were alluding to more being laid off, which means there could be.
That's true.
There very well could be. Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Safe to say I never saw Festival of the Lion King or any of these other shows, but even that doesn't really. I've never seen the shows, but you'd still love to have the actors be there and performing for everybody, giving their Disney magic, and it's. I mean, what else really is there to say? We've been talking about this for the past few weeks, and we've really said that all that can be said. Links down in the description, of course, to help all the cast members. Even if you can't give $100, that might seem outlandish. Even $1. However much you can contribute, I'm sure helps these cast members who no longer have jobs. Cast members who haven't had jobs since almost the beginning of the year, it feels like, with the parks being closed and now they're, not coming back. Links down below for resources to help all of your fellow cast members. But Mark said in the chat, at Disneyland today on Twitter is officially deactivated. All info has been moved to the Disneyland app and Disneyland on Twitter. That's very interesting. Kind of a side bit of news there. Breaking news from Mark. But yeah, Jeremy, do you have any final thoughts here on this topic before we move on?
No, Mark's right. I don't know why that didn't pop up when I was compiling everything, but even though it was talked about a ton this past week, even the past few days, on Twitter, the social media accounts for Disneyland today has been deactivated. Yeah, a lot of people like took that as like really, really sad. Obviously, it's sad for the people who had those jobs. I never really interacted with those accounts. I always find corporate like brand social media accounts to be kind of cringy. So that's just me.
Whoa,
but
hot take.
I feel sorry for the people who had those jobs who don't have them anymore, though.
Sure,
so that is sad.
Yeah, I feel like it'd be fun to be like a social media manager, especially for like Disneyland, tweeting out like, I mean, I don't know. I like being on Twitter, I guess, is my confession. That's my confession. I want to be paid to use Twitter. But anyways, before we get into our final topic of the day, and Jeremy's, of course, legendary book review at the end of the show.
Well, we don't know that yet. We don't know if it's legendary yet.
Let's go ahead and take a quick break to hear from the show's sponsors. If you guys are wondering where you can find even more family-friendly live streams just like this one, head on over to theliveplace.com. The Live Place is your headquarters for great family-friendly live streams. They cover anything from Disney to other vacation spots, various variety shows, and have some amazing streamers like Resort TV 1 and myself. Also, be sure to check out puckermint.com, where you can find amazing pins and stickers. Puckermint is based out of Albuquerque, New Mexico, just a few hours from where I live. And since I'm a big believer in supporting local artists, we decided to partner up. Be sure to use the coupon code down below when you make your next order. Again, that's puckermint.com and puckermint on Instagram. We're back, everybody, to the show. And, yeah. I've been saying to myself for the past few months, I need to re-record that ad read, because that was when I still had my old, part in the middle hair. And that was when I was in my closet, because I used to do the shows out of my closet. You guys remember that? Fun times. But, yeah, it's time for our second topic of... Excuse me. I got the coughs.
Interesting cough.
All of a sudden. Actually, it's time for this week's COVID news rundown, and I have the soundboard working, so let's go ahead and hear our lovely soundbite here for the COVID headline rundown.
This week on Matterhorn Monday, Matt and company continue their reports and discussions on COVID-19 and its impact on the Disney company around the world.
Yes, it's time for our first headline, COVID headline rundown, that is. Spice Road Table at Epcot will not accommodate dining reservations starting on December 10th. Now, of course, links to all of these articles will be down in the description if you'd like to read up. This is, of course, the segment where we just list the headlines, because if we talked in depth about all these things, then the show would be 5 hours long. But...
Well, you're making it longer than it could have been without that.
Oh, no. Okay, for our second headline here, CDC allowing no sail order to expire and establishing framework for passenger cruises to resume. So, if you're cruise fans, or I guess if you're the Walt Disney Company, some good news coming out of the cruising industry. Hopefully those will be able to return safely for the company. And finally, for our final COVID headline, a new Joe Biden ad sheds light on 28,000 cast member layoffs across Walt Disney World and Disneyland Resort. Interesting. I've yet to... probably should have watched it beforehand for the show, but yet to see it. I'll watch it after the episode here. But that does it for this week's COVID headlines rundown, and for our final topic of the day. This is, of course, a juicy topic, you guys. Well, I was sort of speculating whether, I guess we on the show were speculating whether or not this was going to be happening. Overseas parks act on COVID surge while U.S. parks continue political and PR battle over reopening. Now, as COVID surges once again across the world, the international Disney parks close while the company faces a domestic battle to reopen Disneyland Resort in California and maintain a positive public image. Earlier this week, the Oriental Land Company, OLC, of course, the owners of Tokyo Disney Resort, released their Quarter 2 2020 financial results, indicating that the revenue was down 76%. So that's kind of a huge drop from the previous quarter. And due to this fact, OLC executives will be taking a pay cut. So, that's good to hear. This is in direct contrast to the Walt Disney Company, of course, which restored executive pay back to full, and then subsequently, you know the story from here, laid off 28,000 of their theme park cast members. Also, due to COVID, Disneyland Paris will be reclosing their gates through February of 2021. Of course, this is in response to a national stay-at-home order issued by French President Emmanuel Macron. I hope I pronounced that right. Let's see. The resort is anticipating reservations for the Christmas season with hopes of reopening for a short period then. And so while Disneyland Paris recloses, Disneyland Park in Anaheim faces further difficulty reopening. Orange County is further from reopening under the governor's plan than ever before as COVID cases rise. The number of cases per 100,000 people went up from 4.6 to 5.1. And that, of course, indicates that Disneyland will most likely not reopen at all in 2020 if the number of cases in the county continues to rise the way it has. So this is interesting. I sort of just crammed 3 mini topics into there. Probably should have pasted out there better, but I wanted to read that entire paragraph in as many
it's all
short
related
breaths as I can. Yeah, it's all related, but we can sort of touch base on the first sort of mini topic that we have here. Tokyo Disney being down revenue 76%, and of course the Oriental Land Company executives taking pay cuts. That's great. I mean, initially Disney executives took pay cuts too, but then they restored them.
They did initially.
We were saying the same
That's
thing,
right.
But I feel like this could be different. Jeremy, what are your thoughts on that mini topic?
Yeah. Well, I believe the executives at LC had taken pay cuts prior to this pay cut. I don't remember if they restored pay and then cut again or have just been cutting more. I don't remember the details. I should have relooked that up. But the point is now this story is actually really interesting development on what we've been talking about. We sort of are now able to look at this back to back in comparison with the rest of the world. I mean, now what did you do? You gave me a cough. You didn't, though. That'd be impossible. We've seen Disney release these press releases that one of their points that they like to throw around, that I see a lot of people throw around in this discourse, is that the parks have been able to open fine around the world. And I've often pointed out on here that that's an unfair comparison simply because the rest of the world has handled the virus completely differently than the United States. And I think I don't need to really go in depth on the result of that. That being said, of course, many, countries around the world are starting to experience that second wave that we've been talking about throughout COVID. Even if you get the first wave under control, there is bound to be a second wave, and we're still learning more about immunity in terms of COVID. And do we develop those antibodies permanently and stuff like that? So there is a second wave happening in the rest of the world. Japan is actually able to get the virus down relatively quickly and relatively without much damage. However, OLC, which owns Tokyo Disney, has obviously seen losses, as many businesses are going to, which is rough and hard. But we see a response with OLC that I think makes sense. If there's a loss, you fall in front of the train. You take the bullet if you're a leader. Than the people who work under you and work for you.
Sure.
I think it's very telling that this is happening back to back, that OLC is willing to continue or extend or expand pay cuts for their senior executives There have been layoffs in Tokyo Disneyland. Don't get me wrong, but they could have opted to keep their senior executive salary and just laid off more people, which is exactly what the Walt Disney Company has decided to do in response to the closures in the United States. I think the difference is very telling, and I'm curious why Bob Iger and Bob Chapek have not. The public has been asking these questions, not just Elizabeth Warren.
Yeah.
The public has been asking these questions. Why? If you have a good reason, tell us. We're listening. They haven't even addressed that. They keep going back to, well, we provided our employees with health insurance for as long as possible.
Yeah.
Okay, whatever. Okay, only your full-time employees. It's very complicated in terms of that. But anyway, it's just telling. I don't understand. They must know that that's a huge issue, and I hope that they're not. I would be surprised if we see a news story that they decide to take a pay.
Yeah.
That's when you know things are actually really bad. Is if they take another pay cut.
Yeah, well,
so
Mark said in chat, Investor Day next week, so...
That's true. It might be filled with a lot of people, and listen, it's executives hate that day. They sit there, they roll their eyes, they don't listen or actively care about what anyone has to say on Investor Day. But there's going to be people there demanding answers, I think, and I hope.
Well, we can only hope that next week will bring answers, and we will, of course, been covering this as closely as we can. We'll keep you all updated on that. But the other sort of mini news story that we have here as well is Disneyland Paris having to reclose their gates at least through February of next year, 2021. Now, we have already seen, I believe it was Hong Kong Disneyland who closed, I can't remember when exactly, a few months ago, but I do know that it was Hong Kong that closed again. So this would be the second resort to reopen and then subsequently have to reclose due to COVID. So yeah, like Jeremy mentioned, it is very interesting sort of seeing this using the argument, but they reopened the parks across the world. Fine, obviously, we're not as good as the other parts of the world have been when it comes to getting the virus under, contained as best as they can. But yeah, it does sort of bode the question. We have seen cases rise, at least in my local area. Cases have been just skyrocketing the past few weeks. I guess this sort of poses the question, if cases continue to rise, maybe in Florida, could you see, the big question, could you see Disney reclosing the Walt Disney World?
No, I don't. The precedent for that is they reopened at one of the biggest peaks, the biggest rises in COVID cases in Florida. It's a lot more than Disney making these decisions. Disney had to comply with the French government. Strangely enough, I don't see any press releases sticking it to the French government, maybe because that would be an international issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, as long as DeSantis is sitting back and not doing much, if there's a spike in Florida, if there's a major spike in Florida, they opened in a major spike. They opened when there was 15,000 new cases. They'll stay open. Besides, Disney has chosen this to be a political battle, right? They've made this political. So, it wouldn't look good. I think they would think it wouldn't look good if all of a sudden they had to put their tail down beneath their legs and have to be like, okay, we were wrong, we have to close Disney World, and you know what, we should keep Disneyland closed too. I don't see them backing down from this political battle that they've set up for themselves.
Speaking of political battle, we can sort of transition that to the final topic, sort of mini topic there about Disneyland cases skyrocketing. It's almost kind of...
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, I don't want to use... It's how do I phrase this? It's very interesting, the fact that just a few weeks ago, the guidelines were released. People were saying if Disney wanted to reopen, they should, the people should try their best to stay inside, to self-quarantine, to not interact with anybody. Orange County should be doing its part to help these, not necessarily, I guess, indirectly to help these businesses reopen, helping the cases go down. And then we see here cases went up per 100,000 people, went up from 4.6 to 5.1, which is not necessarily a huge jump in percentage, but again, that is per 100,000 people, and Orange County has however many million. I could be wrong. I can't remember off the top of my head how many people live there, but yeah, so that does sort of put the nail in the coffin as to when, if Disneyland will reopen this year. It's a big fat no if the cases, especially if the cases keep rising at this rate, if they continue to rise at this rate.
Yeah, I agree. And here's the thing. If we saw cases gradually going down in Orange County, I don't think I would be as hard on this, and controversially so. I mean, there are people who really are the antithesis of what I say on this show, who have, Disney channels. I don't care at this point. I'm going to say what I want to. And I like engaging with people, so I don't really mind. But if I saw that cases were gradually going down, I don't think I'd be as harsh on this issue. I would say, okay, Disney has a point in at least wanting to be able to prepare to reopen. But we've seen Orange County. It's been kind of a roller coaster there. And we're seeing, as we talked about last week, they were sort of on the verge of a rise. Didn't happen yet, but now we're seeing that rise happen. We're seeing that spike happen. So if anyone's still arguing Disneyland should open right now, I just don't see that as a possibility in the realm of possibility. Listen, there's a misconception here. Someone who takes my point of view on this issue is not saying the parks should stay closed. Yeah, that's a good thing. No, it's not that, it's so much more complicated than that. And I hope I've been able to communicate why it's more complicated than that. Usually the truth is more complicated than just the simple yes or no. That's actually not always the case. That just proved that things are more complex. Anyway,
Let's go.
So you just distracted me with that let's go. I don't know where it came from. But it's much more complicated than that. Orange County needs to get it under control, and it requires being proactive as people who live in Orange County. It requires a proactive local government as well. Now, I do want to point something out. San Francisco. Well, I just kind of ruined the punchline. There's no punchline, but so the Walt Disney Family Museum is in the Bay Area, right, in San Francisco.
Yeah.
They have announced that they're going to be able to reopen. That's wonderful. They've been closed for so long. I just want to point out the reason why they're able to reopen is that San Francisco has been able to get down to, I believe, about 1.7.
Yeah.
1.7 of those 100,000. 1.7 out of every 100,000 new cases. If San Francisco can do that, you can too, Orange County. I've been saying that. It's not in the realm of impossibility. So if they can do it, you can do it. And if you're in San Francisco, the Walt Disney Family Museum is an absolutely incredible museum.
Support
them. Go take a visit. I'm sure they need the visitors.
Yeah. If I were able to visit, I would. But Everett said in chat, according to the 2010 U.S. Census, Orange County, California population is 3 million. Around 3 million. It's been a while since I've read out a number that long.
3,010,232.
It just caught me off guard there for a second. But yeah, so I was right. In the millions is the population of Orange County. So, but yeah, if like Jeremy said, if San Francisco can do it, Orange County can do it. But this sort of bodes an interesting predicament here that the Disney company, or I guess that Disneyland Resort, is going to have to face probably. And I asked Jeremy and I have a group chat with our other friend who helps write the show notes. I asked them in that chat this question. But I'd like to propose the question to you guys here. Since the cases...
Just now? Oh.
This was earlier today, Jeremy. Do you remember?
Oh. No.
Oh, no? Okay. That's okay.
It's been a long day.
It's been a long day. That's fair. I'll
Did I answer
it.
this question?
I don't think you did. I think only Nate did, but that's okay.
There you go. I was productive. I was in the zone today.
He was, to be fair. But, okay, so with cases rising in Orange County, of course, we talked about last week, Disney sending out the announcement that Buena Vista Street would be reopening alongside, as an extension, actually, of downtown Disney. I don't know why the correlation was made in my head, but what are the odds that Buena Vista Street does not actually reopen? Because Disney already put out an announcement to reopen Disneyland just in July, and then of course that backfired on them. They didn't get to open the parks. This is of course a different circumstance, but it's still sort of lingering in my head as something that could possibly happen. Buena Vista Street not actually reopening as they intended to reopen it. But I'm interested to hear what you guys have to think, and of course Jeremy on my tinfoil hat conspiracy theory.
Well, I don't think it's that much of a conspiracy theory. I think it's in the realm of possibility. I'm not going to say it's true. I mean, there's just no precedent to be able to figure that out. The only thing I think is on your side in terms of that theory is if this rise goes even higher. Now, so we'll see. And that might just be a postponement. We'll see. I think it's still going to reopen, and we'll get more details, but I don't think your theory's in the realm of impossibility.
If it happens, come back to this episode. I predicted it. You all owe me $1. All those who watched. But yeah, so I guess it's just an interesting sort of proposition that Mark said it's been living in my head rent-free. That's, but it's just something that's been the correlation that was just made in my head for some reason. And I'd like to hear what you guys have to think as well in the chat, in the comments down below. Oh, the voicemail too. I forgot to mention at the top of the show about the voicemail. 575-386-5814. You can, of course, call in if you'd like to leave a voicemail on if you have any opinions on what we're talking about here. But yeah, so very interesting. We will, of course, be following this story very closely like we have been. It's going to be a while for Disneyland to reopen. And it could possibly even go a whole year if you think about it. A whole year without reopening.
It's possible. Many other industries are going more than a year. I can speak for Broadway in that sense. So we'll see. Anything's possible.
Anything is definitely possible. But yeah, I believe, Jeremy, unless you have any final thoughts on that topic, we can go ahead and wrap that one up.
I don't think I do, and I'm sure we'll be talking about this more next week. And I'm tired of talking about this. I'm going to say that right now.
Yes. Yeah. Hopefully next time we'll have some good news to talk about. Maybe not. But we'll see. Hopefully. But, guys, I think it's time for everybody's the most anticipated segment on the show, actually. Jeremy is going to be...
Everyone's leaving.
No, come back. Jeremy is going to be giving a review, of course, of the book Boundless Realm, Deep Explorations Inside Disney's Haunted Mansion. So I'll go ahead and give Mr. Jeremy the floor here, and you can discuss about the book.
Thank you very much, Matt. Hopefully you don't leave during this. We'll see. But anyway, for those who follow the rather tumultuous and toxic environment that is Disney fandom, or Diz Twitter as we refer to it today, it seems harder and harder for our shared love of this institution, this entity really called Disney, to shine through all the toxicity and drama that so often plagues the pages of the internet. I don't think I need to cite examples to prove that. To be honest, I'm not so sure the notion that there once was a time where Disney fandom flourished on the World Wide Web with tribute sites, news groups, and fan forums is an invention of my childhood nostalgia, or reality. Regardless, that notion exists in my mind as well as many others growing up with the internet at the time. If there is, however, a saving grace resource that cuts through the never-ending cycle of drama, it is the theme park nerd's mecca of a blog, Passport to Dreams Old and New. Here is the hub of healthy analysis of theme park design that bridges the gap between fan and academic. Its author, Foxy, the theme park fanatic of theme park fanatics, breaks down the Disney parks into layers that resonate with fellow fans on a deeply personal level. This is because to Foxy, theme parks are entirely personal. Her voice as a writer is so distinct that her passion for these parks bleeds through the facts, figures, and history so much so that when we, the readers, finish one of her essays, we don't just walk away with new trivial knowledge of a particular attraction. We walk away with a newfound and heightened understanding of why we love what we love. That is a rare and profound effect to have as a writer, especially when you're the writer of a theme park fan blog. It should come as little to no surprise, then, that her new book, Boundless Realm, Deep Explorations Inside Disney's Haunted Mansion, goes even further. Boundless Realm is unique in that it makes an active attempt to depart from the normal ways in which Disney history is so often told. A book giving us the chronology of the design process would be redundant considering the amount of resources readily available that do just that. Rather, Foxy guides us on a personal tour of the mansion as she sees it and has studied it firsthand. In one room, we explore the history of the dark ride and its ties to fun, cheap thrills. In another, we travel back in time to the 18th and 19th century to explore the origins of the haunted house trope itself. In another, we look at the evolution of horror trends in film from the 20s to the 60s, or the origins of spiritualism as a cultural phenomenon and its ties to magic and illusions. Down the hall, we sit with Mark Davis and explore his thought process and ingrained cultural influences in painting the stretching room portraits or the Sinister 11. Or we find ourselves with the author herself at the Magic Kingdom exploring the ins and outs of every corner of the beloved mansion. And there are so many more rooms on this tour that I could gush about, but I'll leave them for you to discover. Foxy doesn't just show us what makes the Haunted Mansion special. She takes us into, well, the boundless realm of what it all means. She gives us a haunted mansion on display in which our movies, our plays, our books, our architecture, our religions, our customs, our entire popular culture all collapse into one in a 10 or so minute dark ride that has transcended into our collective global consciousness. As Imagineer John Hench once wrote regarding theme park design, after a lifetime, and I quote, "After a lifetime as a designer, I have become convinced that some kind of ancestral memory, a collective conscious of inheritance of sensory impressions, images, and symbols plays an important role to what we see." Boundless Realm ends, and I promise this is not a spoiler, by giving us detailed examples of the mansion's influence in theme parks around the world. After turning the final page just a couple days ago on Halloween, I couldn't help but start to think about the bustling seasonal haunted house scene I grew up with in Southern California, and how deeply the mansion was so openly and creatively embedded and sometimes expanded in all of those experiences, and how they so deeply became embedded in a little boy who too loved the mansion. And then I thought about what truly makes an attraction more timeless, more relevant, more Disney, or what that should mean anyway. Boundless Realm can be purchased on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or directly from the book's publisher at Inklingwood Press. Links to all of this will be in the description, and let me tell you, I cannot recommend it more, people. That's my review, if ever there was one.
Let's go. Jeremy, that reminded me of Journey Through Animation.
Journey Through Animation, yeah.
Nice. That was great. That makes me
highly recommend.
Want to buy the book.
Highly recommend. Highly recommend. It's inspiring. I think she absolutely sets the precedent for new ways we can tell history. I'm inspired. I hope it inspires DizTube as well.
Yes, DizTube. That's us.
That's us.
That's us. Well, yeah, that
rewrite
makes
these scripts. Okay.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, great review. Thank you, Mr. Jeremy. That does make me want to buy the book and read it. That'd be the first book I've read since Mockingjay, Hunger Games, Mockingjay.
Oh, right. Absolutely, Matt. I think you should do it. I think everyone in chat should do it too.
Even buy it just for the cover.
Everyone
who
watches, who's not watching live, should get it too.
Yes.
So,
link down below.
And yes, and there'll also be a link below to Foxy's incredible blog, Passport to Dreams Old and New. I'm telling you,
great,
some of the greatest essays you'll ever read on theme park design. Nobody does what Foxy does. And this book, I hope, really takes off. And from what I hear, she's writing one about pirates. So that's going to be very exciting.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, her blog is so powerful. Her words are so powerful and so amazing that she sold me the idea that perhaps the Florida Pirates actually is good. That is good writing.
Yeah. That's true.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that's actually one of the I remember one of the very first blogs that I used to frequent when I first started getting into Disney history. So big shout out to link down below, everything. Yeah, that has been Jeremy's review for Boundless Realm, a deep exploration behind... I'm trying to read off of the small picture I should read of here. Deep explorations inside Disney's Haunted Mansion. The title is correct there. Link will be down below. And I think that is going to wrap up this week's show. Mr. Jeremy, do you have anything you'd like to say before we sign off for the day?
Yeah, I do, guys. If you haven't voted already, do it
gosh.
tomorrow. I mean, if you're watching live, it'll be tomorrow. If you're watching not live, I don't know if this will be up right away or not.
It's
could
whatever
be
YouTube
up,
decides.
and
I have no control.
are totally. It could be up post-election, and it's a portal into the world, the last portal into the world pre-election. So, we'll see what happens. I don't want to talk about it though. Here we.
It's happening either way. Go out and vote tomorrow.
It's happening
like you
either
said.
way.
Yeah, like you said, live tomorrow to vote, and the episode should be public. If not tonight, then by tomorrow. So today, if you're watching this on Tuesday, local polling station. I know a lot of NFL arenas have been converted into polling places. If you live near an NFL, a football field is what it's called. That's what it's called. The stadium, football stadium. I couldn't think of the words. So if you live near one of those football stadiums, you can vote there. But yeah, I'm sure there'll be more information that you can find. But on that note, as always, links to all of the articles that we refer to will be down in the description below. And again, I forgot to mention at the top of the episode, but 575-386-5814 if you'd like to call in throughout the week, leave a voicemail if you have any thoughts you'd like for us to address in next week's episode. And I feel like I'm forgetting something. I don't think so. The soundboard's working, so you know what, guys, we might as well end off here. Oh my gosh, where's my soundboard? We might as well end off here with another great listen. Wait.
To some with people. Oh.
Yeah! It's Matt Snaps, you guys.
I thought you were going to put back on the People Mover music.
Well, I have Alex in the Parks, I have the intro, I have COVID-19, I have...
All right, we're not going to have a
we
DJ
go through all of
session
them.
right now.
Darn. All right. Well, yeah, thank you all for coming to today's episode. Links to my socials, Jeremy's socials, and of course Alex's channel as well will be down in the description if you'd like to follow us on anything. But yeah, I think it's time to go ahead and wrap up the episode. So thank you all for coming, and as always, have a great big beautiful tomorrow.